We're live. We're here. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. Canada's national embarrassment, Justin Trudeau, tells the Chamber of Commerce that we can punch back on Trump's 25% tariffs on Canadian exports by putting our own tariffs on things like bourbon, Harley Davidsons, playing cards, and Heinz ketchup and cherries. My God, the election can't come soon enough. Well, yesterday, another attempt was denied. To no shock at all, everybody knew this was most likely not going to pass. I think the biggest shock was the fact that the Bloc actually came through with what they said. They actually walked the walk for once in their lives instead of just talking. Anyway, let's take a listen at the absolute ridiculousness that Trudeau is spewing.
President-elect Trump got elected on a commitment to make life better and more affordable for Americans. And I think people south of the border are beginning to wake up to the reality that tariffs on everything from Canada would make life a lot more expensive for Americans. So that's part of the argument. The other part is we will, of course, as we did 8 years ago, respond to unfair tariffs in a number of ways. And we're still looking at the right ways to respond. But our responses to the unfair steel and aluminum tariffs were what ended up lifting those tariffs last time. It wasn't that Americans were paying more for their steel and aluminum, although that was annoying to some people in the States. It was the fact that we put tariffs on bourbon and Harley Davidsons and playing cards and Heinz ketchup and cherries and a number of other things that were very carefully targeted because they were politically impactful.
Politically impactful. Harley Davidson is a dying brand, as far as I know. Nobody is lining up to buy Harley Davidsons really anymore. So putting tariffs on that, like, congratulations, Justin. You're doing a whole lot of nothing by doing that. Moving onwards. This is the big news of today. This is what the stream is based on. A $60 billion deficit. Are the Liberals out of their minds? This is not normal. This is economic arson for Canada. Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland want to bankrupt Canada. Let's take a listen at this absolute insanity. I watched this before I went live, and Freeland just dodges the question. She is pathetic, man.
Officials have leaked to the media that the deficit will be $60 billion or more. So is it going to be that, higher, or lower?
Mr. Perkins, because a Conservative filibuster has blocked the work of our Parliament.
Minister, the only filibuster is your unwillingness to produce the documents.
No,
But I would ask you a simple question. Is the deficit going to be higher or lower than the $60 billion your officials have leaked to the media?
I think that it is very important not to cast any doubt on Canada's financial credibility. So I want to take this opportunity to be very clear that Canada's fiscal position is strong
above or below
and sustainable
$60 billion?
and continues,
yes or no? It's a simple question.
To be
Why won't you answer whether or not it'll be above or below
the
$60
G7.
billion? Did your officials have leaked to the media?
I just want to replay the very beginning here.
Officials have leaked
Officials have leaked
to the media.
To the media. So their own officials in the government, before telling Canadians, are telling the mainstream media outlets exactly what is happening. One more time.
Officials have leaked to the media.
Officials have leaked to the media. Why do they continue to do this? Why are they withholding information from Canadians instead of just giving it out to the public? Oh, we're going to hold on to it and then give it to the mainstream media so they can cook up some sort of narrative for our political gain. That's probably what it really is at the end of the day, isn't it? A lot of these organizations like the CBC, bought and paid for by the Liberal government.
Will be $60 billion or more.
And she can't even answer the question if it is going to be $60 billion or more. What an absolute joke. These are the people running the country. Chrystia Freeland cannot even answer a basic question that she most likely knows the answer to, withholding information. Trump trolls Trudeau, calling him governor of the great state of Canada. It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. I look forward to seeing the governor again soon, so that we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade. Guys, Trump's not playing any games here. Obviously, it's a joke. We're not going to become the 51st state. Everybody relax. Just a joke. Is making these jokes about us and making fun of us because Trudeau is such an incredibly weak leader. It's just a fact. Everybody internationally makes fun of him. Nobody has respect. He goes to shake hands with international leaders and they ignore him. I don't know how many times I need to bring up that G7 meeting, that summit that happened, and he was standing on the outside looking in while everybody surrounded Trump. Nobody takes him seriously worldwide. So of course, Donald Trump being the guy he is, he doesn't give a fuck. He's going to roast him. He's going to make fun of him. He's going to take all the shots he wants to. Rightfully so. Trudeau's an idiot. He's a loser. This is the little interview Trump did here. Trump, I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew into Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call. Trudeau, once again, flying all over the place while putting a, air quotations, price on pollution, making Canadians pay for it. What a loser, once again.
I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in. Maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before. 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%. That's a very substantial tariff. So I spoke with.
That is exactly what is going to happen. As a matter of fact, Justin Trudeau was seen at another Taylor Swift concert. Yes, Trump is not playing any games anymore, guys. He wants the borders fixed, but the southern border, like 20 times worse than our border. 100%. Jagmeet, oh boy, just voted to keep Justin Trudeau in power. This is a little interview with reporters he did directly after question period. I don't think anybody truly cares what he has to say anymore, period. All right, we got some breaking news coming out here, guys. Ottawa, suspicious package allegedly found at Parliament Hill. Emergency crews on site, buildings being cleared. I guess I will try and find updates as we get more here, but as of right now, it looks like they're shutting some blocks down. They're shutting certain areas down. Oh, Greg just muted the microphone. Somebody is screaming. Somebody has stood up and completely interrupted Parliament and is just screaming at the top of their lungs right now. And Greg has fully muted it. I wonder what is happening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. During question period, there was a disturbance in the gallery, and it was very alarming to see the NDP member for Port Moody, Coquitlam, almost immediately not just reference it, but it seemed to have been incorporated into her question. It was a prepared question. You could tell it was prepared because even after you admonished her for pointing out the disturbance in the gallery, she could not adapt and repeated it 3 times. Now, it seems like this was a coordinated event, that someone was invited into the chamber and the member knew that there would be such a disturbance. So I'd ask that you look into the matter, Mr. Speaker, and report back to the House as to how this individual gained entry into the gallery, on whose behalf was this person invited. This comes on the heels of a security scare today in the Wellington building and a protest in the Confederation building last week where members of Parliament were impeded access to their offices, threatened, and forced to face toxic behavior. This is a pattern of behavior we're seeing from the NDP, As we come to the end of this session, Mr. Speaker, it's incumbent upon all members to respect the security and safety of this place.
So it was a member in the gallery, which is located above the House of Commons, like the viewing area. Somebody invited from a member of the NDP was screaming and carrying on in the gallery.
Oral questions.
Here we go.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is weak and he's lost control. He's lost control of our borders, of our freedom, of finances, and he's also lost control of his ministers. Indeed, we have learned that there is a squabble going on between the Minister for Finance, who wants a huge $40 billion deficit, and the Prime Minister, who wants a great deficit, a steroid-infused deficit that goes beyond $40 billion. Who's going to win this squabble, Mr. Speaker? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, when a government delivers dental care to seniors throughout the country, it's the Canadians who win. When the government delivers a tax break for Canadians over the next 2 months, Canadians win. When we are here to invest in food for children in schools, children and parents throughout Canada win. Canadians will not win when the Conservative leader votes against all these measures and refuses to help Canadians and only cares about his own future, not the future of Canadians.
Shout out to Tim. What an absolute legend.
The Minister for Finance does not agree. She promised that deficits would not go beyond $40 billion. She stated that she was against the little Christmas electoral bauble to the tune of $6 billion. But the Prime Minister imposed this inflationist policy upon her. He admits that deficits fuel inflation. And that is the reason for which they have promised to keep deficits to $40 billion. Will he keep his promise? Yes or no?
I was about to say that earlier. Freeland has already started non-stop moving.
Mr. Speaker, the person in this room who is against helping Canadians is the Leader of the Opposition. He's voted against a tax break for Canadians. He voted against dental care, against food in schools, against investments in electric batteries, against investments that we are creating for clean energy and for more jobs in Canada. The Leader of the Opposition is against measures that actually help Canadians because all he cares about is himself. He doesn't care about Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This weak Prime Minister has lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending, debt, and inflation, and now he's lost control of his own cabinet. We've learned in the Globe and Mail today that his finance minister is having her people speak out against him. She wants a large deficit of $40 billion. He, on the other hand, wants an even larger deficit on steroids, bigger than $40 billion. We know that Canadians are going to lose from all this inflation, but which one of those two is going to win?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians lose when the Conservative leader votes against a dental plan for seniors. Canadians lose when he stands against a tax break for all Canadians over the next few months. Canadians lose when he blocks a school food program that's going to save parents $800 on groceries while putting more food in kids' bellies. Every single time the Leader of the Opposition gets up in this House, he stands against supports for Canadians, against growing the economy, against supporting a better future for all Canadians, because he's only in it for himself.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, Trudeau.
Well, it's not clear that the finance minister is actually in it with him. She said, according to the Globe and Mail, the Prime Minister's office has given internal direction for an aggressive and possibly costly policy agenda. that threatens to blow past spending targets she has already publicly stated for the government. She promised the deficit would be capped at $40 billion, acknowledging that if it went over, it would cause even more inflation. That means hungry Canadians lined up at food banks. So once again, will the government meet the minister's promise to keep the deficit under $40 billion?
Yes or no?
Probably not.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, while we once again hear the Leader of the Opposition talking down Canada's economy, talking down Canadians, the Bank of Canada, it looks like it's going to be decreasing.
He's not talking down Canadians, he's talking down you and your government and the piss-poor job you guys have done over the past decade.
Is also perplexed because he doesn't let his own MPs speak out on anything that he doesn't stamp and approve. He has people follow them around with tape recorders so that they don't speak to media about anything that he doesn't pre-approve. That's not being Canadians' voices in this place, Mr. Speaker.
You were doing so very well for the first number of questions in terms of members respecting that only one of their colleagues at a time had the floor. I'll ask members to please withhold their comments and let the one member speak and the one member answer. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister has admitted that deficits drive inflation. His minister admitted the same thing. That's why she said the deficit would not go above $40 billion. That was her guardrail. They weren't going to smash into that guardrail. She's like a bus driver saying she's going to come just short of hitting that $40 billion guardrail. And then some crazy lunatic comes in, grabs the steering wheel, and jerks it sharp to the left through the guardrail. Does he realize there's 41 million Canadians that are going to go off the cliff in that bus?
Order. Order.
We're already off the cliff, Pierre.
Colleagues, the longer I take to get order in this place, the shorter question period in terms of the number of questions we'll have to ask.
Colleagues.
I ask for members.
Colleagues, please.
Discipline. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the Leader of the Opposition continues to talk down Canadians and the Canadian economy and indeed Canada, let me once again put it on the record. Canada is the best country in the world. And we, as Canadians, are stepping up, got us through the pandemic. Canadians got us through the challenge of high inflation. Canadians will keep building a positive future for themselves by being there and showing up for each other. Unlike the Leader of the Opposition, who's voted against every measure that has been put on the table to support Canadians over the past years and continues to be in it only for himself.
The Honourable Member for Bailleul-Chambly, Mr. Speaker. In the context of bullying and religious practices in schools, where people are asked to move to leave space for prayer, the Minister for Immigration says that the Premier of Quebec is always attacking Muslims. He keeps talking about the freedom of expression, but he seems to find it difficult to tell the difference between Notre Dame in Paris and a park in Montreal. What does the Prime Minister have to say about this? Is he for or against this kind of statement?
What?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will always defend individual rights and freedoms and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the right to believe and to express oneself is something that our government will always defend. Of course, we will continue to protect these rights throughout our country. The Honourable Member for Bailleul-Chambly. For a bit more details, it's not a question of secularism versus one religion, but versus all religions. The vast majority of Muslims in Quebec are perfectly happy, integrated, and of course welcome in Quebec. The secularism of state institutions is there. and is necessary for equality for all. Can the Prime Minister at least ask his minister to wait to see what the government of Quebec will do before he starts self-immolating in indignation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers, like all Canadians, cherish individual rights and freedoms, the freedom of expression, the freedom of belief and credence, the right and freedom to assemble. We have fundamental rights and freedoms that we will always defend. I understand that sometimes a community may be attacked, as we see sometimes with politics and policies throughout the country, but here the Liberal federal government will always defend individual freedoms.
The honourable member from Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, get this. The Conservatives bring in a tax cut for the richest CEOs corporations, costing Canadians $60 billion, but they vote against taking the GST off of home heating and diapers. And the Prime Minister sided with them. Why does the Prime Minister side with the Conservatives and big corporations against working people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we were equally puzzled when the Conservatives voted against a tax break for Canadians for the next few months. People are facing challenges right now, counting their pennies at the grocery store as they try to make ends meet. And this Parliament stepped
Counting
up.
their pennies at the grocery store, trying to make ends meet. Oh, Trudeau. Oh,
forced
buddy.
his MPs to vote against a tax break for Canadians. So even though he wanders around the country talking about taxes, hanging out with certain questionable diagolon folks, he continues to vote against the interests of Canadians.
Alors, s'il vous plaît.
Order, please. Order. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Dead.
Mr. Speaker, make it make sense. The healthcare system is collapsing and the Prime Minister is sitting on his hands.
Oh my god, Jagmeet, you're such an idiot.
Colleagues, je peux pas
I can't quite hear what...
Jagmeet acknowledges that the ship is sinking, but is helping the captain continue to sink the ship.
Order, please. I ask the Honourable Member for Burnaby South to start his question again.
Prime Minister's excuses instead.
Make it make sense, Mr. Speaker. The healthcare system is collapsing and the Prime Minister is sitting on his hands. Currently, 7 times out of 10, François Legault encourages Quebecers to pay for their healthcare. Does the Prime Minister find this acceptable? If so, why? And why is he abandoning people? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we will always respect provincial jurisdictions. We have also invested $200 million. We will invest $200 billion over the next years in healthcare throughout the country to deliver a greater number of general physicians with stronger healthcare, better mental healthcare, and better support for our workers. We are working for the healthcare system. We are here to defend our public healthcare system, and we are here to work hand in hand with provinces who want to deliver for better healthcare for all.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
We know the Prime Minister has lost control of spending, and now we see he's lost control of his own minister. We have a Finance Minister who won't tell us what the deficit is, and a Prime Minister who doesn't think about monetary policy, and that seems like a match made in heaven. But then again, maybe not. The Globe and Mail reports that, quote, tensions have risen between the Prime Minister's office and the Finance Minister's department, saying that the current dynamic appears to be similar to what happened with Bill Morneau before he quit. The Prime Minister bullies females and he bullies finance ministers, and now he's bullying a female finance minister. How much longer is she going to put up with that? Yeah!